Hi, okay, one of the last videos of the year. We'll still fit in a couple. This one mainly about cars and mainly about Porsches. Now, my face is a whole lot redder than usual. We went for a walk. We went on a trip to Mount Cook, and I underestimated the brightness of the reflection off all the ice, and forgot my hat as well, so paying the price with a very sore sunburn. Okay, so I have been talking about these Porsches a little bit. In preparation for building the GT2, I went and grabbed this one out, which was a model that I'd got from someone. It had some bits started, and I'd used the decals for various other things. Actually, some of the decals will end up on Harvards, but the bulk of that pattern was not really usable, and I'm not mad about that. But anyway, I'd sort of abandoned this car, and then I thought, well, maybe I should just actually use it as paint practice and a little bit of build practice. So I'm going to start off by talking about that one. The box is bigger than almost all of the other car boxes, a very big and full model kit. But once you actually down to it, I'll show you what the end result is. So this is the body type. Now I'm building the interior without painting anything, because it's really just a practice build. And the body I'm making look as nice as possible. So not a whole lot there. And then you have this very complicated and yet amazingly small power unit, engine, transmission and rear suspension. Now that is a whole lot of building there and a lot of alignment, and I can see a lot of ways to go wrong on that. It was very tricky, and I did not build that perfectly, but I built it well enough. But if I was still also worrying about damaging paintwork and so on, I would not have achieved this. So I can sort of imagine that this is one of those cars that a lot of people actually don't get right, let alone those difficult decals. But anyway, so that was interesting and sort of something I haven't really built before. And that slots very easily into here. I haven't glued it in yet, and I might do so. I'll see. I'm still sort of planning that. So that slots into there. And then we have the bodywork. So having spoken about that, I've been talking about this fluorescent yellow. So I decided to do a pre-coat of a very light, and I chose, this looks somewhat similar to my International Scout, but it's not the same green. This is a white and green mix, to try and get the preparation for that, which ended up working out really, really well, and I'm very happy about that result. I did a bit of a different test with a different green there, total failure, and it's a matte. So that is possibly one of my best automotive finishes, and I really, really am happy with that. I was planning on doing that on the black car, but I'm not going to on the GT2, so I'll do a different scheme. This is quite fine. This will be a nice display piece, even though the interior isn't built. We'll see how that looks when I'm finished. And I learnt a few things while painting this, which I will speak about now. But actually, that's the first time I've done a fluorescent yellow. And while this paint job has some faults, this would still be one of my best automotive paint jobs as well. So I'm quite happy. Oh, I forgot to bring the airbrush, but I can maybe use this pen as an example of what I'm going to speak about regarding that. Oh, just a couple of points. So I did leave out these panels because that was going to require The spray to move in and coat on very difficult surfaces and probably not actually make it in there, and to put those panels on afterwards is quite easy. So same with the wing. These little bits are also a little bit tricky in there, but that worked out okay. So sometimes I think it is worth leaving panels off to spray afterwards so that you can actually get into the places properly, and I had to spray underneath there and on the top to get in those fins, but it all came out very well. So what I sort of thought was just going to be a bit of practice ends up with a model that'll be sort of quite nice to present. Now you will catch in there that surface is not perfect, and there were two things that were that were happening on both the pre-painting on this very nice gloss white and green mix. It happened both there and on the fluorescent, and I didn't really realize this because this almost never happens on any of my other spraying, and that is that on the front of the airbrush, if we just use this as a representation, you get a slight build-up of paint just on the lip, and then it'll blast a little piece off. Now that happens, I think, you can give your opinion on this, when my paint mix and the nature of the paint is a slightly more thicker mix, and as that flow of paint is going out of the tip, it's actually building around on the very edge of the airbrush, and if you're not aware of it, as soon as it's big enough to actually have a little piece of it ripped off by the airflow, and then it forms a little blob. So I was busy spraying, and then I suddenly saw something that shouldn't be there, because the paint is very consistent, very nicely mixed, everything going well, and suddenly there's a blob of paint on there, and there's nothing you can do about that. So every now and again over there there was this imperfection then, which is okay for this model, since I'm obviously not doing it for a competition piece or anything. So that was the one thing. So probably, even though I didn't think I was mixing it a bit thicker, I probably was. Now it sprayed absolutely beautifully, so whatever consistency I had there, which was probably about 40% paint, 60% thinners, was enough to cause a little bit of a build-up, whereas some of my normal spraying is about 25% paint and the rest thinners. And then the second, so after I realized that, I would then take a little bit of tissue and clean the tip every now and again. That solved that problem. I did get, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see. No, they were very, very small. I did get little. I think there's one there. Yes, you see there's a little black dot. There were a couple of little dots that came out of the airbrush, or just grabbed from the environment, I don't know. So, sort of an extra clean environment is required when you're doing something where every little micro speck will, that's less than 1/10 of a millimeter in size, but it's enough to be visible, certainly on a fluorescent yellow where absolutely everything is visible. So those two things were happening towards the end. And I don't, there can't be little black dots in the paint, so it must have been being drawn in from the environment, which is slightly odd. But anyway, very happy with that. So I just sprayed half of that so that you can actually see the difference. And I did spend a fair bit of time thinking about how to get the perfect base for that fluorescent. So we know that I definitely wasn't going to be using any matte or satin base coat, because you just don't get a high gloss automotive finish with that. So it was going to be gloss onto gloss plastic. So these are two Humbrol colors mixed together. And then this is that Gunzi Sangyo, which I did show in a previous video. And I had to test to find out which thinners mixes with it, and it was sort of only on my last test, which was the Tamiya lacquer thinners. Is that right? Enamel thinners. So not the X20, not the X20A. And not the industrial thinners, which I use for the bulk of my spraying with Humbrolls. It just wasn't mixing with those. Whatever the Gunzi Sangyo chemical makeup is, it required that Tamiya thinners. Luckily I had some of that. I was pondering putting on a decal or two, but I don't really think so. This will be quite nicely displayable just on its own. So that's that one. The GT2, which was next. By the way, I brought this just to show that I was just getting an idea of what this would look like to help guide me in choosing that base coat. So it's very difficult to tell that that's the color until you've actually sprayed it. You can't tell that from looking at the contents of the bottle. Taking some out and wiping it on some white paper allowed me to choose a color slightly less than that. You want something less than the fluorescent so that the fluorescent boosts it, but as close to the fluorescent as possible so that you don't require the fluorescent to cover, or the fluorescent isn't going to be able to cover anything. So that was that. So this one, as I had said before, a very, very easy kit, totally different from the GT1. No, that's as much engine as you get, just molded into the bottom of the body shell, which is all fine. Very little. I've glued most of the contents in there. Again, I'm keeping this one black. I actually want this one all black interior because I want this, rather than tinting the windows, I just want the total focus to be on the on the body shell. And I'll tell you now what I'm going to be doing with the body shell. So anyway, very, very easy build. There's a little bit of roll cage detail and so on, but really it's quite a fast build. And I'm of course leaving off all of the windows, so no window masking there, no window masking on this one. All of that will go in afterwards. I'm pondering what to do with that, but I might leave that exactly as is. Whereas on the GT1, over the chrome, I'm going to spray, and I'll do that after this, clear red. So it'll actually stand out amazingly well against that fluorescent yellow. A clear red, so that's that same Tamiya clear red. So this one, I'm going to spray gloss black, then chrome, and then clear, and then I'm going to do a Tamiya clear color, so that'll be a candy apple. This will be a candy apple. I've been pondering green, blue, red, orange. Still not 100% decided on what I'm going to do, but I'm thinking blue. Red wouldn't be bad. I must just check what I've got. You can give your opinion. What do you think would look the best there? I do still have a little bit of wing to put on there, but probably again keep that off till the end and spray the wing separately. So you can see on this one the window masking, though in this case probably there was actually no real reason. I guess because the windows slide in from the outside, they've got a little lip there. So it's not like you need to cover the gluing surface there. So actually, not a whole lot of reason to have masked that. Probably similar on this one, although what I don't want is I don't want the chrome look going to the inside. The interior must be completely black. So when I spray the gloss black, that's okay, but when I get to the chrome, then I don't want it going anywhere on the inside, so I will have to mask all of that. I did do those seam lines and buff that out. So that's pretty good. On this one, I don't think it's going to come through on the video. There's a little bit of a line there. Even though it's been sanded, it's not perfect. So you do need to ensure, even there, you can see the way the light catches it. It's not, you really need to get a very nice even arch. The back is okay. So GT2, not a big deal. Yes, that's right. Those rims are gold painted, but I'm not going to do that. And of course, none of those decals. So that will be a candy apple Porsche, which will look quite nice. Then the GT3, which I haven't looked at for ages. Very similar car to the GT2 in the contents of the kit. Bright yellow body shell, and I don't quite know, I might go green, so I would be able to spray green over that yellow. So that one will be coming up. And possibly again, almost no attention to the inside. I just want that dark. You can even see it looks very good when there's nothing really striking on the inside to draw your attention away from that body shell. Just dark colors. In fact, I might tint the windows, but I have never tinted before. I'll have to, you know, it's a little bit different when you tint a very small thing with Tamiya smoke or something like that, but I haven't tinted a large. If you look at this, if you look at that box picture, that sort of tinting, I haven't done that. Clear blue might work, might be a bit too blue. I've got a feeling it's going to be too blue. Now Tamiya has released a model, and I think it's one of their most recent models, the 911 GT3 RS. And I've ordered myself one of those since I couldn't find anything locally. That'll come from Japan, and that looks like quite a nice kit, and probably should be since it's one of their most recent. And then I just dug out this one, which I have, and I have been meaning to build for quite a while. Not quite as flashy as those 911s, but still nice. It is a nice body shell. The spraying will just be plain white and then decals onto that. Very simple chassis again. In fact, a very empty box, to be honest. There is next to nothing there. It's a little bit of interior work, windows in, spray it. So quite a fast build. So 90% of the work is in getting a very nice spray job on these. But I do think it'll look very nice having sort of all these Porsches lined up. I did also order a Lamborghini Aventador, so that'll be something coming up. It's not a high quality model, it's Aoshima, and the focus is again just about 95% on the bodywork. This one, which I have shown you before, is the kit that I was starting to work on a little bit, and then realized that there's many bodywork pieces missing. So my question to you is, if you look at this, so that's all there, and I have this very nice engine. Which I can carry on building. But what do I do with it? And I'm thinking sort of something semi-sci-fi. Do a I don't know, vehicle, a space, change it into something space looking, leave those wheels off. Give your thoughts, because that's actually a very, very nice engine kit, very detailed and very, almost in a way, unusual. So rather than just set this model aside, I'd actually like to build that engine and do this model type, which I haven't done for a while, which is a little bit of a kit bash into something semi-sci-fi looking. Okay, before I end off on this car episode, I have made my list of models for 2025. This one is probably going to be finished by the end of this year, so that'll be the last build. I know it's a little bit of a cheap build since I'm not painting and paying much attention to the interior. It's sort of a practice build. It's really for the spray practice. I'm actually not sure if I should do a clear coat over this. Since I'm not putting on any decals, I'm not sure if there's a benefit to that floor wax clear coat. It might improve the shine slightly, but it also causes runs more easily than what the paint might have. Now that's an interesting point actually, which I hadn't really thought of at the time. I'm not the most experienced car painter by any means. I spray a number of bike parts and they are a lot smaller and a lot easier to do in my opinion. And with this spray, it just worked out absolutely amazingly. I don't know what I was doing right, but no chance of runs. No orange peel effect. Everything just went really, really well on both layers. Except for those little splashes of stuff which I mentioned. So the floor wax consistency is a bit thinner, and I have noticed that every time I spray with that, and of course being water-based, it doesn't have that viscosity that this paint probably had in just keeping it settled. Where it was sprayed, it stayed. But I was quite impressed, not even the slightest hint of runs going on. So I'll probably have to make a mental note for myself for the car bodies is make a bit of a thicker consistency paint, but be aware that it'll splatter off the tip of the airbrush. That'll be the last one of the year, and I think because there really isn't a whole lot more to do on there. I do have to do that little light section at the back. I need to glue in those lights, and not a whole lot more. So I think that'll be finished. And then I have made my list for 2025, which I'll discuss in a little video, possibly in the second video today or tomorrow. While I hadn't actually thought about doing that much of a detour on cars while I'm spraying the bike parts, the bikes are definitely still the main thing, but it is quite handy doing these practice spray jobs on things. So let's come back to my list for 2025 and a little bit of a recap. I wonder if I actually might do a recap video of this year separately, not jam too much in. Okay, happy modeling till the next one. Cheers.